Anyway, so we ran up. They said, no, we can't wake her up. So we went up. There was no pulse. We spent 50 minutes doing CPR on her. And we didn't want to lose her.
And it was really lonely. I was really, really sad for a really, really long time. And then it's like I wake up from, this coma, 3 months later and...
Everyone ready?
Yeah.
My hair's not ready, but go ahead.
Do you want hair food before we start? We can stop.
No, it's okay.
All right.
What's hair food?
Hair food.
Hair food?
Yeah, it makes my hair look
Oh,
nice.
yeah? No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And on that note,
Yeah.
welcome back to Parable Podcast. Today we've got very, very special guests. This is actually the first time we don't have a priest on. Or might as well should be a priest.
Maybe future priest Abba.
Jeez.
Future priest Abba, but
Come on, Lee.
nah, but
No, thank
borderline
you.
saint Debbie Armanious.
Oh, don't
here.
say things like that.
Gosh.
Please
I
cut
will
that.
her. I will her. From the beginning.
No, so yeah, we've got Debbie Armanious and Abanoub Salama. How are you guys?
Awesome. Thank you for the invite.
We also have me.
Yeah, and
but
Chris.
Have you
you're
met
always
Chris?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
Reluctantly.
Yeah.
I wish I never did. No,
Yeah.
but yeah, so today's a very special episode. We've got two people who are very big in the space of social work. Debbie has been running or been a part of Exodus since its beginning, I believe, in
Yes,
Sydney.
2002.
Wow, 2002, I was not yet born.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
In 2002. And Abanoub, who started out in Exodus and now is doing social work full time.
He could be my boss.
Yeah, that's
he could be my boss.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, kind of stumbled upon Exodus when I was a bit of a youngin', and then met Deb, and I think the rest is history.
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. For those who don't know what Exodus is, would you like to just give us a run through? What is it? What do you guys do on a day-to-day basis? How did it start? All that stuff.
Well, that's about an hour. How long have you got?
Keep it running.
a lot of people don't know about Exodus, and a lot of people know of Exodus, but they don't know what we do. And so in the past, we've always said, well, we do anything in the social work space. Breaking that down, it's anything from mental health support to drug and alcohol support to domestic violence support to men's behaviour change support. What have I left out? Youth work and seniors. We've actually now 2 years actually having a seniors program. So we have about 60 or 70 young seniors. They're the cheeky bunch in our midst, and we go from 8 months of age, our youngest client, up to about 90 years old.
Huge gamut.
What's the most common age group?
Oh, gosh. Averaging it out, probably about 30-something at the moment, because we're in temporary accommodation. We ourselves are in temporary accommodation. We move into our new headquarters, God willing, in December. Some of our programs have been sort of toned down to accommodate the place that we're in. So in the past, Abba would run mic nights, spoken word nights that would have 100+ people in the building.
Wow.
We can't currently do that.
Yeah, that's a trip down memory lane. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
So Abby, if I was to drop you a beat right now, you could
I could recite you a poem,
Okay,
but I couldn't drop a freestyle. Yeah.
We've probably had one of the biggest spoken word events in Sydney for a while there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Big.
yeah. It got put on the roster for the Australian Poetry Slam.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very recognised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
recognised. Yeah, that's
Is
a
it
good
just
word.
because you were in there
Nah, not
on
at
the
all.
mic?
Yeah, yeah.
Open.
But I think, we're really proud of that,
Yes.
you know.
It was a huge effort.
Yeah.
Once
And
a month it was.
Yeah, and it started just from like a couple of people in this room upstairs at Ramsgate just sharing poetry with each other.
And it ended with us being at Granville in a rented commercial building, 350 square metre commercial factory with a huge bright gold star, sort of with reggae colours, and a stage. And we had a lot of people coming in from Bankstown Poetry, from the Muslim community, and they would be with us on the night reciting poetry. And often they would come to us and say that how grateful they were for the community and that they could speak their trauma or speak their lives. And we, the Christians, had allowed that to happen. And it was beautiful to see. It was real outreach. It was great.
Yeah. And shout out to Nancy Luca
Yeah.
for initiating that. That was amazing,
Nice.
you know?
So, Debbie, you started Exodus. Yep, in 2002.
Yes.
What made you start a service like this?
Okay, so we were going into mission service in South Africa, and every time we would leave Sydney, we'd take some youth with us. And we would always take a couple of wild cards, which meant young people that we needed for them to experience a recalibration of life. And it happened time and time again. So we were over in South Africa. The guys came back with me. There were about 5 of them. They came and said, look, we won't be going back to South Africa too soon because it's so costly for us. What can we do that we were doing in South Africa here in Sydney? And the concept of Exodus was born. We played around with a couple of names, but Exodus was chosen by those 5 guys. What it looked like on the first night, it was in Tempe Park. They said, let's rock up. Some of our mates are there. They've got issues. They had the shisha cranked up. And we'd started about 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
We're talking about ABBA? Or we're
No.
talking
Was Abba there?
In spirit.
It was the heat for the cold.
Yeah. And my guys from the ones that had gone to South Africa, they said, look, just rock up. Let's just do what we do in South Africa. And I said, but we're in Sydney. They go, no, they won't matter. They don't care. So there were about 7 roughly at the park. We rocked up at 8. It was April. It was a cold night. And we stayed till about 2 in the morning. And then they said, you're coming back next week. And of course, I got a kick under the bench to say, yes, we're all coming back next week. Would you have us? And they said yes. So that 7 or 8 became 10, became 20, became 30, 40, 50 overnight. And we ended up having to set up 2 meetings a week.
How many shishas were set up?
Eventually, we put all the coals out. We did put all the coals out. We did. But there was nothing forced. It was, we have things in common with you, and we're not here to judge. We're not here to tell you what to do. We will walk with you, and I suppose we'll get to the book of Exodus. We will walk with you. If it takes 40 years, we will do 40 years.
So we're all troubled people.
Yep.
Would you say this group was troubled?
Some were. Some were facing criminal charges. Some had very severe mental health issues. Some had been kicked out of home. Some had real relationship problems. They really couldn't cope with life in any sense. And so we just would meet with them, we'd hear them, we'd talk to them. We wouldn't go home before 2 a.m. It was a real killer service for a while there. We did that for a couple of years out in the cold. But I'd go back to those days. I'm a bit old now, but they were good days. They taught us a lot.
I'm just curious, Abba, how are you exposed to Exodus, or if that's something you want to share, or exposed to social work here in general?
I think my exposure to Exodus came at such a poignant time in my life when I didn't realize I needed to be involved in a service like that. I had just moved back from the Blue Mountains after I spent some time in hospital. I'm sure the whole Coptic community knows Abba was in a coma. He had an aneurysm. All of this stuff. But
tell her, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's better for it.
But honestly, I think Deb's right. I am 110% better for this factory reset that happened. It's God took a screenshot in my brain, and was all right.
So you were in a coma.
Yeah.
How long was the coma for?
3 months.
3 months.
About 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because of an aneurysm?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a bleed on my brain after I had like a traumatic kind of like beating, a couple guys. Yeah.
The first time I saw you, you had a helmet on.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed out without this helmet.
Deb, that was the second time you seen me. The first time was another young person being like, that Exodus was serving.
Yeah.
Brought me to perform at the open.
Oh, yeah. Right,
the open mic.
But I thought you had a helmet on.
Unplugged.
Yeah.
No, it was before
unplugged.
then. Yeah,
Yes.
it was an unplugged music
Obviously,
night.
wasn't very memorable.
For Deb at least.
For Deb at least.
Yeah, this mate of mine goes to me, bro, I know you want to be a famous rapper. Come perform at this thing. I went, I performed, no record deal, but I think like seeds had been planted then, right? Because I didn't, see or speak, to anyone from Exodus for maybe like 2 or 3 years after that. And then like, you get absolutely bashed and put into a coma and you think that this is the worst thing in the world, but you realize slowly but surely, no, this is the best thing that can happen to you.
Someone commented today on our Instagram post. He said, God doesn't exist because of tragedy. And then I think I replied and I said, oh, well, you can either go closer or further away from tragedy. He replied back about, what would you say to someone that would say that there is no God because of all this tragedy in this world? Because obviously getting bashed is a tragedy. Being in a coma for 3 months and then wearing a helmet after is an absolute tragedy. So how would you respond to that?
I'd say it's how you see things. Part of our job is to change the lens by which people see through. And if you listen to their tragedy and you listen to their pain and you're there for that sounding board that they need, often they will say, that brought me to here. It's just allowing them to journey through their own lives to see that they wouldn't be where they are. They wouldn't have what they have, even if it's empathy with somebody else. And this is where brokenness comes into it. If you don't completely accept and own your own brokenness, how do you expect to be able to serve somebody else? So the understanding of brokenness, if you can come to the awareness of that, it's a gift.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think, being able to accept like my like flaws and all, everything that's kind of like happened to me, and so I just need to say like, even as that's coming out of my mouth, I feel like that's like pompous and like, I feel like a tool, but I'm like, well, yeah, I am a tool, right? Aren't we all instruments? So like, sure, something bad has happened, but unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, this is what the gift I've been given, is a second chance at life. Anyone that knew me back then, anyone that was around, like at that like moment in my life will tell you, this kid's dead, like there's dead
And there's
dead.
Abba.
Yeah. like I should
so scary.
not be here. Like
No.
Dad will always talk to me. He'll be like, Abanoub, you should be dead. And I'm like, we laugh. And I think like the second Christmas Zeta came over, Zeta's my wife, by the way, who I'm very much in love with. Yeah.
By the way, Zeta's in the room.
Right there.
So like,
doesn't want to come on camera because she doesn't have makeup on.
Like he like always, it's like his one like party trick. He loves to tell this story, of like me almost dying. And I'm so desensitized to it, but I think, well, it's what was once my weakness is now my strength, and gives me the ability to empathize and to sit, yes, we're meant to walk with people, but sometimes people can't walk, So you sit and you set up
that's
camp, you know, and you just stay with them until they're ready. Who knows how long that will be, you know, but time isn't a factor for a God who is beyond time, you know, and I don't think we're called to be perfect in saving people. We're just called to be that lens that people see God through.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
And some people don't know God. Some people don't know the grace of God. They don't know the forgiveness of God. They don't know the story of redemption. I'm from a family where we weren't even Christian. We didn't know what Christmas was or Easter. So it takes others to illuminate the name of God. And, you know, I always ask young people in the church when I'm in a youth meeting, how many gospels are there? And everyone looks at me really odd and like, of course we know there's 4. And actually, no, there's 5. And the 5th one has your name on it. Because people like me didn't know Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But I did know somebody called Suhir in school. And that person, you know, slowly led me to know Christ.
So was this in high school?
Yes.
So you joined the church during high school?
When I was 15.
15,
So I was the
nice.
first Australian baptized
Oh,
in
nice.
this diocese.
Oh, interesting.
Which was, I think they had a council over what to do with me.
Shit,
Oh, no. And then what I do vividly remember was my baptism, Abanoub Salama. What I remember, so there were some women there and the 2 fathers, they came in and they put me under the water and I used to surf. I'm a very good swimmer and I can hold my breath exceptionally long. But that moment of being held under, being held under, I was running out of breath. I don't know how long I was under, but when they left the room, their hands came up, they left the room, I came up with a gasp because it was a long time. I mean, my life did go before me.
Wow. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. So what was that story? I'm really curious.
Oh, in a nutshell, I'm from a very Australian family. We're not religious in any way. I went to the roughest school in the St. George area, sat next to a girl that looked rather dark. She was new to the school. We all thought she was from America or something fancy. And then she told us she was Egyptian. And then she lived around the corner from me, so I went around and had a strange bowl of green soup, which turned out to be molokhia.
Yeah.
And
really,
you know,
she was into it then.
yes,
Yeah.
And
yes.
then from that
Sign
day,
me up.
I think anyone said that over molokhia on the first time.
Oh.
Just the texture.
But it has to be
So
beef.
strange.
Not chicken.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's a hot take.
Yeah.
Oh.
Very hot take.
But they weren't really sort of church-going Copts either. They were Christian. And, you know, I saw a picture of St. Mary in that home and she was wearing something blue and I could not even have recognized her. And they were just good people. And I slowly began to realize that they had something that I didn't have.
Awesome. Yeah, no, because I've said this multiple times on the podcast that I was Protestant a few years ago, or like grew up in a Protestant family household. My dad's Orthodox, and I was baptized Orthodox. So still in like the sort of like I'm Egyptian, Sudanese, and in the past 3 years I've turned to Orthodoxy. But for me, like it's totally different. If you're like that's nothing compared to I feel like what it would be like to be an Australian living in Australia and to just
Yes.
to just transition. Like there'd be
Yeah.
so many questions. Like I had questions,
Yeah.
but I feel like there'd be so many questions.
Well, I suppose if you don't know what you don't know, there aren't that many questions.
Okay.
And when I look back, I know God's voice now. I know his work. I know how he operates. And I can see now that he was operating a long time before that. So I think he had it in for me.
Yeah. On that, sorry, I'm very passionate about this. On that, I think the Coptic Orthodox Church is spectacular. I think it's amazing. I think like the truth that we have in this church and the community and the resources and the the youth is flourishing and all of these things are so awesome. But I do have some critiques, some gripes to pick, okay? And I like something that I want to discuss. I feel like this would be a
Let
good
us
place
help
to-
you.
Yes.
Let me get my stethoscope out.
So yeah, I feel like the Coptic Church is such a light, but I feel like our church, whether we realize it or not, maybe, I feel like we keep this light kind of hidden.
100%.
Yeah. And the reason I say this is because I feel like we take our kids to Coptic schools,
Yes.
we take them to the Coptic church,
Yes.
all of their friends are Coptic, the sports they play with, all their Coptic friends, their, what's it called? Their hobbies are Coptic, their careers they get into is because or whatever is helping me in this
Yeah.
business, and their clients are Coptic. And it's
Help me.
Yeah. So I like
It can be that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like there's this sort of Coptic bubble, and I've noticed this because I've kind of entered the Coptic bubble.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I grew up in a school, the widest school ever. Everyone had a farm
Really?
out in MacArthur. Yeah. MacArthur Anglican School, top tier school.
Yeah.
But there was agriculture. We'd go and like feed the chickens.
Oh, that's
Right.
like me and Lithgow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we
So
had
you did live
ag. Yeah,
Ag.
Do
Yeah, that's
ag.
what it is.
You going to ag
Bro,
today?
My sister.
No, I'm not,
my
bro.
sister did the.
I see you as a farmer.
Yeah. Purely because my sister had all these white friends, she would be at the Easter show, like doing like the cow,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, out of all of that, do you think that it's a very big problem that we kind of stick to this group and not sort of reach out? And I feel like, in my opinion, there's an element that it kind of becomes, this is us and this is them, and there's
Yeah.
that other sort of dynamic.
I have a bit of a gripe. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you because I am from the other side.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I always have said that it's like we have this jewel box and it has diamonds and rubies in it. And just occasionally we lift the lid at the world and go,
Yeah.
look at us. And then, no, you can't come in.
Yeah.
It's not really, we don't say that, but
Yeah.
getting people in the door, it's massive. It's a massive effort for somebody to, rock up and to be accepted amongst. And the Egyptian culture it's as heavy as Molokhia. There's no cracking it easy.
With extra garlic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and you take the food and the culture and the language and
And fasih.
fasih.
Mm.
Tell me, fasih.
You're just gonna keep on ad-libbing.
Yeah, all those things, and it all comes as a package. So what do we do about it? St. John Chrysostom talks about outreach or mission or evangelism, whatever word you choose. There's others. It's the spine of the body of Christ. And every other service comes off that. So your Sunday school, your youth, your seniors, your Elhan, all of it comes from the spine. Because if we can't be Christ to the world, the light and the salt and all these things that the gospel talks about, then how does someone like me know about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, know about the crucifixion, know about the resurrection, know about salvation, unless you are the hands and the feet and the face of God himself? The word liturgy means the work of the people. Sometimes we get a little bit hoodwinked, and I think it's the work of the devil, really, to allow us to think that if we rock up on Friday night to the youth meeting, and then we go to Saturday night Ashaya, and then we go to the liturgy that's 2.5 hours long, we've ticked those boxes and we're okay. We're good. But what's supposed to happen is you fill yourself with Christ, the blood and the body of Christ. You step beyond that boundary into the world. This is where it begins, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. But we just sort of go home and we jump on the couch, have Molokhia and sleep it off. And this is not what we're called to do. And I'm very passionate about that because unless, someone didn't do that to me, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about that. And the world, the World Missionary Board still states that only 2/3 of the world has been reached. And, you can go into suburbs here today in this city where Christianity is long dead. Australia used to be at the turn of the century, even till then, the great southland of the Holy Spirit. It's not any longer. And I think people like yourselves, with 2,000 years of ancient faith behind you, now have the baton, we're talking about batons, to carry that to future generations. And it's not by chance that you are here in this country. God got your family to get on planes and to pack their bags and to go to the furthest place on the planet and to set up shop and to be amongst us. And thank God somebody did that. And now you go to the church like St. Luke's or even any parish, there are non-Egyptians there.
Love that. Love St. Luke's. We did an episode there and it was actually awesome to see iconography in English.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Sitting there trying to like decipher, I know who the saint is, but I'm trying to understand and read and learn.
My confession was translated for 5 years because the priest did not speak English.
Jeez. So there's a third party.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, there were 3 of them. They were on round.
That's crazy.
On roster.
And like we have no barriers in between us and we still don't do these things. Like, like that's commitment. That's really, that's awesome.
It's crazy how we are like that as an Egyptian community in Australia. I think we got a lot better.
Yes.
But if you go sometimes, unfortunately, if you go to certain places, people, maybe myself, we just stick with their own groups. If someone new comes, I don't know them. I'm not going to say hi. I'm just comfortable with my own group. So I'm going to stick with my own group. What do you think we're like that?
I think that's human nature. I think like the nature of humans is to congregate. Like we're communal creatures, right? And we crave familiarity. So when something is familiar, that's what we're used to, right? And then we can, branch off and talk about addiction and, all of these things. It's all just familiar behavior. It's all that we know.
We don't like to be uncomfortable.
100%. Yeah. No one likes to be uncomfortable. And I think like ice baths and saunas and all these things that make us uncomfortable are just these things that are like, if I want to grow, then maybe I should be uncomfortable for a bit. There's that, one of my favorite rap albums.
Mine too.
Yeah.
You can say anything right now.
That's it, right? Yeah, Black Sabbath.
I know who that is.
Sorry, To Pimp a Butterfly. There's this huge monologue in it that Kendrick Lamar goes on, where he talks about like the caterpillar is a slave to everything around him and just consumes what is available, but then he goes into this cocoon that he creates for himself. And only then, like under so much pressure, does the transformation happen, and then he doesn't go into a cocoon by him, like with other people. No, you go into a cocoon by yourself, you do that meditation, you do the reflection, you do the prayer, you do the work, you talk to God, you meet him, or he meets you where you are, and then that transformation happens. It's not meant to be comfortable. It should, at least it can be internal. I'm not going to say it should be internal. It can be internal, but the community should be there as well. Because if you zoom out from where that cocoon is, the whole tree is covered in cocoon. Everyone should be going through a process, of transformation.
Yeah. And
it's lifelong.
I think it sounds like you have to teach yourself to be uncomfortable.
But like Deb was
to
saying,
go out.
Yeah. Like we have the history of the Coptic Church that teaches us how to do that.
Yeah,
like the manual is there,
But that's what Christ did. When you think about it, if we're to be Christ-like, St. Paul talks about imitate me as I imitate Christ. If you imitate Christ as best you can, it will be him doing the work, so therefore you can relax and get in the back seat. But his life, he never demonstrated to be comfortable. On the contrary. And so if we start imitating him, in Sirach chapter 2, it says, if you step forward to serve, expect hit over the head or on your neck. And that's true. But you toughen up. I mean, the best basketball players, the best boxers have gone through hell to get to that. And look at the glory that you achieve at the end. And we're talking about your lives should glorify God for other people. And so we should be uncomfortable. And if you are comfortable, you're in the wrong place. Definitely.
Yeah, get out of the boat.
Yeah.
Like walk on water.
That's it.
You know?
That's it. Who does that?
Yeah.
Who does that? There's Pope, the late Pope Shenouda gave a sermon once, and he said that when St. Paul reached heaven, God said, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You know, you made it. Awesome. Step to the side. Just could you step to the left a little bit?" St. Paul was puzzled. And he said, "But why?" He said, "I want to see the people behind you. Who did you bring with you?" And we're going to be asked the same thing. Like, yeah, good, you got here. But what did you do with the gifts I gave you? Did you bury them or did you use them? And this, what we're sitting here, this is a gift. This is a talent. These podcasts, and I think I was saying to you, this is the new mission. You don't have to go and even pay $2,000 to go to South Africa. The world is here. The world is in this mic. And I think God just looks at us being a little bit lazy, and thinking, I'll bring the globe to you. And the world is like, go to any university in this country, it's full of the world.
Mm. And sorry, can I also just chime in there, right? Like, at what cost did it take you to get, to the gates of heaven? You're right. Who did you bring along, right? Because if you didn't bring anyone, well, surely you missed something.
But you knew the way.
Yeah.
You knew how to get there.
Right?
Why didn't you share it?
Like, did you have the blinders on,
Yeah.
to not
True.
drag people along with you,
It's like when my friend finds a new deal, like for like this crazy chicken meal,
and he gatekeeps
I
it.
like that.
and he just doesn't tell me.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly.
Or like, what's that perfume you're wearing? Oh,
it's
why
Savon.
won't you share? Why won't we share?
Yeah. I'm trying to smell good.
This thing's not for me to keep.
Yes.
Like everything that like I'm blessed with, spiritually or, like whatever. Like I have to share it, because I'm not going to take it with me anywhere. It's of no use to me if I can't share it,
I have a theory about this. We did an episode 2 with Father Paul on the lost sheep. And when I was like looking over videos and researching over it, looking at a few Orthodox pastors and a few like Protestant pastors, seeing just differing opinions. And what I noticed is that in the Orthodox sermons, there was a very big emphasis that the lost sheep is that friend that has been coming to church, but you haven't seen him in the past few weeks. Oh, have you thought to check up on that friend? Have you thought to see what he's up to? And 100% I agree. And then a lot of the Protestant priests, and being a Protestant myself, I kind of understand the theology. It's because like once saved, always saved sort of thing. They're like, okay, we have our church here. Go out into the streets, bring anyone to the church and let them see Christ. So I feel like somewhere in the middle is correct, in my opinion, because I feel like often we have the tendency in Orthodoxy to reach out to those within our parish and be like, oh, where's that person? And not so much want to go out on the street and bring other people to the church. Not as much.
Can I
go for it?
Jump in?
Yeah.
That's discussed a lot. How do we get those people over there on the fringe over here? I would challenge you and say, how do you take the Christ amongst us to the fringe? That's what has to. And a friend of mine that someone I knew in the past, he is with the Salvation Army, Paul Moulds, and he set up his service in King's Cross. And I asked him one day, why there? He quoted someone else, but it came from him. He changed it a little bit. And he said, I want to set up shop at the gates of hell.
Proved.
What a unit.
What a unit.
What a gangster.
Yeah,
And you think, but why would you do that? But truly, and Abba will I'm sure, agree. When you do that, that's the realm of the impossible. So you can ring somebody at church. Oh, I haven't seen you. That's easy stuff. That's within your realm. But when you reach out to the realm of the impossible, that's where you see God appear, because you can't do it. You actually can't do it. Physically, mentally, spiritually, it's scary. Go to, we did 55 trips into South Africa. I was on 55. And some days they were scary, but the outcome was just too good to miss. I would not, the day that comes that I can't go to work at Exodus, I will be sad, because it's there that you see God every single day. Why would you not go? As tough as it is, it's tough. It's not an easy service.
Do you have any examples of things that have happened at the gates of hell? Maybe you as well, Abba, or even just scenarios where you've seen someone really become that lost sheep, and you've seen them turn to faith, or turn to Christ, or you've helped them.
Look, there's many, and I'll give you two stories that are almost identical. One is an Australian, or a New Zealander, I should say.
Yeah.
And the other one is an Egyptian from Alexandria. Parallel stories, both on crystal meth for years, both living in their cars, no friends, no life, very, very thin. Really, they can't work, they can't feed themselves. And they encountered a service, Exodus, and Abba will tell you with other services, it's the same story again and again. And then they engage, they come to the programs, we set a mentor to them, we get them some counseling, we go through rehab. Both of those guys own their own houses now. One's married, one's not. One has kids, one doesn't yet. He'll be married soon. And what did we do? Actually, not very much. We created community around them, and we said, even as you are, we still love you. Actually, we don't see that. We don't see what you're living in your car. You're the Son of God. Let us find a place. And slowly, and it's from Egypt to the Promised Land is a 3-month journey, direct. It took them 40 years because they relapsed. And that's part of the job. It's like you're set for 40 years. You can't think, he relapsed. We took him to rehab. People enter rehab 6 to 12 times before they get clean. It's about that, isn't it? Depending on the person.
Yeah.
And people think, we got him to rehab. Woohoo, we're safe. You're not safe. In fact, it is the most critical time, because if they come out, let's say if they were on heroin, they come out and they're clean, what they'll do, they'll go back to the original dose of heroin and they'll overdose.
Yeah, wow.
So it can be scary.
I found a quote today from Pope Shenouda. I'll read it out to you. So many of our brothers were lost because nobody visited them, or by the time they were visited, it was too late. So do you think it's ever too late?
Only when they're in the ground.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like there's dead.
And there's Abba dead.
Yeah. But even then, look, I've got a couple that we've lost. We've got a beautiful story. We lost someone, and his mum took his place at Exodus, and she's with us all the time, and she serves nonstop. And every young person that comes, not even young person, because we just don't do drugs and we just don't do young people. Everyone that comes in is her family, is her son, is her daughter. And so she wouldn't have had that chance to serve other broken people. Yeah, and I want to specify, we don't just do drug and alcohol. Over the years, yes, it started like that, and yes, it was Exodus Youth Works. It is no longer that. We trade as Exodus because we do, we do other things.
When I walk past someone in the city and they're 40, homeless, on drugs, sometimes I look and like, this guy is far gone. But it doesn't look like that's the mentality.
Never.
you're
No,
the
well, that's
problem.
interesting. Yeah,
No.
100%. But you know what? It's like me and my.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of people have
Like
the
we'll
same,
walk
including
past and
me.
be like,
yeah.
this guy's gone.
Yeah,
He's
but man,
gone.
bro, you catch me on a day where I'm exhausted. Same. Like I'm not immune to it. You know, like you can like ask my closest, people. Like I'll come home after a really rough day at work. I don't care about anyone. I need time to rest and recoup and relax and to find like the foot of the cross again for myself, and I think that, is really important. Like, okay, the problem isn't that there is a person like lying on the ground there who is, on drugs or whatever it is that they may be. The problem is the lens that I'm looking at it from. Is it a Christ-like lens? Okay, if it's not, that's okay. What do I need to do to get that lens back?
Also, there was something I was listening to yesterday, and it touches on that point 100%, that we are all very, very capable to be that person. It's all about, it was like some CIA agent on some podcast, and he was saying it's all about.
I want to listen to that.
Yeah,
It was
actually
Tim.
quite good. Yeah, I was that agent. What's it called? He was saying it's all about inputs and outputs. If I was to input into your life, right? Both your parents left you, and I was to input, all your friends betrayed you, and I was to input, the one person that went to provide you support was into all of these drugs and provide. That's the input that you get. Like these people didn't get there just from let me just like end up being like that. These are people who've been pressured to get to this spot. And if we take a position of high ground, because my mum loves me, no, you are very, very capable to be in the exact same scenario.
Yeah.
You're just lucky and blessed that you're in this position.
Yeah.
Like, and it's as simple as that. And I feel like that mindset.
And anyone that's gone to like Coco's and had a conversation with any of the people that, we serve at Coco's would attest to that. Like you just need to speak to people, and learn their stories and see where that brokenness comes from, and then humanizing like your neighbor, it's not just a homeless person. It's not just someone who's struggling with X, Y, and Z. It's none of that. It is a human being that is in front of you.
Yeah, well,
No one wakes up and says, I'm going to be a drug addict today.
of course.
No one wakes up and says, I'm going to be homeless today. Whoopee. Mother Teresa was in India, and a journalist came from America to interview her. And she was in the house of the dying, cleaning maggots off this guy's leg, rotten flesh. And the journalist saw it, and he began to sort of feel a bit nauseous, and he ran outside and vomited. And Mother Teresa cleaned up and went outside and said, are you okay, my son? And he said, I don't know how you do that. I don't know. How can you get maggots off someone's leg? And she said, actually, I didn't see the maggots, but I did see the leg of Christ. And it's looking at everybody's life.
Yeah.
That's Christ.
Yeah.
He's the, is it Matthew 25 where it says, I was hungry and you fed me. I was lonely and you visited me in jail. I was thirsty. If you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. There's your answer right there. So who wouldn't do that? If I said right now, come and we'll meet Christ and we're going to do this, and you'd come with me.
Yeah.
But they're outside in the street. He's there.
And they walk past church all the time.
I walked past St. Mary's at Sydenham many times as a young person, and I saw the people inside.
Yeah.
And it was so foreign and so ethnic. I thought, what are they doing? I remember saying to my mum, why are they there? You just...
The amount of times I've been at different churches and like, I'll just be hanging out near the front because that's what I want to do, not be inside. And then someone like pops their head in, and just looks around like, oh, what's happening here? And just watch and observe how people respond and react.
It did happen to me recently.
Yeah.
I went to a parish where I don't normally go to, and there were some new people from from Egypt. And someone lovingly came over and said, here's a book, and did you like the liturgy? And did you enjoy it? And I was like, and I couldn't break it. I just couldn't say anything. I just said it was really lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No English.
50 years.
Yeah.
50 years here in this
Oh,
church.
my goodness.
But how sweet is that?
Of course.
It
She
is.
couldn't, she could hardly speak English,
Mm.
but she took a moment. How
Yeah,
great
the
is that?
intention is sweet. But
Oh, yeah, no, it was great.
yeah.
I wish that would
Yeah.
happen more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, yeah. I want to read a passage, Romans 6, verses 15 to 23. I think that it's a really good passage for this topic. We can talk a bit about it. I can read it out.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, it's Romans 6, verse 15 to 23. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under law, but under grace? Certainly not. Do you not know that to whom you present yourselves slaves to obey, you are the one slaves whom you obey, whether of sin leading to death or of obedience leading to righteousness? But God be thanked that you were slaves of sin, yet you obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine to which you were delivered. And having been set free from sin, you became slaves of righteousness. I speak in human terms because of the weakness of your flesh. For just as you presented your members as slaves of uncleanness and of lawlessness leading to more lawlessness, so now present your members as slaves of righteousness for holiness. For when you were slaves of sin, you were free in regard to righteousness. What fruit did you have then in the things of which you are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death. But now having been set free from sin and having become slaves of God, you have your fruit to holiness, and the end, everlasting life. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord. 2 questions. What does slaves of sin mean? I guess in the context of addiction. I think it is naturally kind of taken in that way. And weirdly, what does being a slave to God mean, and slaves to righteousness? There's a reason that it says slaves instead of servant. Often in church we'll hear people say, you're servants to God. But no, in Romans it says you're a slave.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
When it says like you're a slave to God, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is the yoke, and when we're yoked to Christ, people would look at that and think, oh my gosh, there's a yoke on this person. They're trapped. They can't move beyond, what this yoke allows them to. But it comes back again to that paradox of Jesus and that paradox of Christianity, where, well, no, because this is a choice that I make, and if I wanted to, this yoke could easily come off, and I could become a slave to sin, and I could do all those things, But that's the juxtaposition, right, of Jesus. You want life, okay, die. You want freedom, okay, serve. You want to be a king, okay, be a slave. Like everything just seems to operate in this weird, like opposite.
Mm.
And he says it's sweet. Your yoke is sweet.
Yeah.
And the burden is
It's
light.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, slavery is an interesting term, isn't it? Go backwards. We have free will. So we can be a slave to anything we choose. If I was to bring in, when slavery was the slavery we see in our minds when we say that, you bring someone in here with chains and who's been whipped, and we'd all be horrified. We'd be sickened by it. We actually couldn't, we'd want to unlock their chains, and we would want to wash their feet, and we would want to feed them and care for them and apologize again and again. That's what we see. That's how I see any entrapment of someone who has lost their free will. They're chained. And because we have free will, wouldn't it be so sweet that if we could transform that slavery of things that are bad for us into the slavery of things that are good. And with that slavery, we are released to enjoy eternal life. It's again that paradox, as you say, but they're very extreme. It's an extreme reflection and challenging. But we certainly would be easier to be a slave to. I'd like to see the translation in Greek or something, but the slavery to Christ.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than the slavery of losing my free will. People say, "Oh, but you're not allowed to smoke." Yeah, we can smoke. Can you stop?
Yeah.
No.
Bang.
Yeah.
That's the sweetness of the slavery of Christ.
Yeah.
That I have free will and I can do whatever I please.
Yeah.
I can. I do things that are I do things that are wrong and I'm not supposed to. But I desire to do.
Yeah.
I feel like thinking about this, and I feel like there's like 3 categories of Christians, in my opinion.
Just 3?
There's definitely more. There's definitely more. But in terms of this context, one is the Christian who is very, very serving, constantly serving in the church, and is constantly just in service, but might have this view of service of like, I am Christian because of my service. I'm Christian because I'm there every Sunday. I'm Christian because of these things. All right. And then there's another person who, I guess this person wouldn't say they're Christian, but they are on the outskirts of Christianity, and they look into Christianity kind of like what you were saying earlier. And they're like, oh, I wonder how these people see me. And it's that very Christian that I was talking about earlier who's looking over and is like, what's this guy doing out on the street?
Yeah.
And the other Christian, the other person on the street is thinking like, oh, okay, I'm not good enough to get into there.
Yeah.
They obviously are a certain way, they act a certain way. I'm out here and they're in there, and I won't even attend something small because it's either I'm all in or I'm all out. There's that person. And then there's the third person who is a Christian and they serve, but they understand their identity as a Christian, but they very well know they are slaves to sin. They very well know that they have their vices and they're working through things, and that when they look at someone else in their pain or whatever, they see them as, okay, this is someone struggling with their sin the same way I'm struggling with my sin, right? It's all the same. I feel like that's the right person, in my opinion. And I feel like, in my opinion, we all have a sin that we're slave to. Yeah. We all have something that we're working through, whether it's publicly exposed to people or not is something that's different. Yeah. But our recognition of that is what matters. Like, for all you righteous people watching this podcast,
it's going to go down well, isn't it?
Yeah. All you righteous people, I feel like go for it. No, but for these people, like, if you're watching a podcast thinking that you're all that, you're all big time, if you're doing these things and you don't constantly reflect on the things that you're getting wrong in your day-to-day life, like, this isn't enough talking about it. You have to go and do it. I'm very passionate about this, in my opinion. Like, you are a slave to God, but many a time you're a slave to sin. That's why we have the lost sheep, the prodigal son, the good Samaritan, every parable that Christ has told. The sower. Just go on our feed and just look through all the episodes. All of these things, in my opinion, are prompting you towards that.
Yeah. And you know what I would do, Tim, is I would take like that last 2 minutes that we just recorded and then just watch it yourself.
Yeah.
And just because at the end of the day, like, the things that I consume, right, aren't going to make you guys do anything. You know what I mean? So, like, that is a message for you.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't control anyone else's spiritual life. I can't make someone do something. But, you know, like, my own medicine is really sour, but I'm probably the one who needs to take it most.
Yeah.
100%.
You know?
You know, when you talked about the lost sheep, how you said there's 2 categories. There's the Orthodox perspective, the Orthodox priest, and then which is go get your friends, and then there's a Protestant perspective, we go get anyone on the street, and then there's Father Paul's perspective.
Yeah, Father Paul said both. Yeah.
No. Father Paul said he said I'm the lost sheep.
Yeah.
So when there's 99 sheep and there's one lost, he says, well, I'm the lost one.
Yeah.
And I'm always lost. And I want Christ to come and pick me up and put me on his shoulder and take me back. And we're constantly asking Christ for us to come and take me back to your flock. You know, and I think if that's the mindset, that I'm the lost one, then I'll be okay. You know, as long as I'm always struggling, I don't look at anyone else. I don't judge anyone. I don't see them as lost. I see myself as lost, and I'm just a tool. Like what you said before, we're just tools. I'm a tool for Christ, and he brings me on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I'm actually the lost sheep.
You know, can I just, I want to bring up a story. We did a Bible study years ago, but this Bible study, like it stuck with me because it was about the prodigal son, you know, and then I remember like, I think it was Evan leading it and like a few of the others. And, you know, I was in the Prado on the way back home.
You've got a good memory
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Exodus had this Prado, you know, it was mad.
It was our pride and joy.
Yeah. It was like, this is all we got. Yeah.
It was very old.
Use it.
Yeah. But and I was in it with you know, one of the people who Exodus was serving at the time. I mean, you know, he's not with us anymore. And we were just going kind of back and forth about the prodigal son. And then like the penny dropped where it was like, bro, we're talking about this guy who's sleeping like with pigs and whatnot. But he came back, you know, but his brother who was in like the presence of his father the whole time.
Mean man.
Yeah. Is like, doesn't want to celebrate in his brother's like return. I think like, you know, I can ask Zeta, like I think about my brothers and I want to cry. I can't imagine not wanting to celebrate their wins with them. Like if one of my brothers, you know, says to me, you know, oh, you know, Abba, this happened. I'm like, bro, like that's my brother, you know?
That parable isn't about the prodigal son. It's about the son that
Yeah.
stayed. He stayed all right, but why did he stay? Because he was waiting for the inheritance. And some of our people hang around and don't bother about the lost sheep because they're just, you can fall into that, you know, I've got to work for this for myself.
Yeah.
And finally, when his brother comes home, he's bitter about it. Oh, he went and had a party. I missed out on the parties.
Yeah.
I stayed here. I should get everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's.
And also, I think
I do recall this story.
Yeah.
And
And
I remember
also,
discussing it.
like, did he stay out of fear? Like, is that what was compelling him to
Greed.
stay? Like,
Wow.
if I'm like, oh, I'm too scared to not do what I've been told to do. So if I do the right thing because I'm scared or because I know that this is promised to me, like, and all of these like negative emotions brewing
They're all
inside him,
negative, yeah.
you know, like there's no, like, I'm doing this because I want to be here, because I want to further my relationship with my father. I want to make my father proud. No, I'm doing this because this is what I was told to do. And if I don't, then I'll be in trouble, you know?
For homework, if anyone does homework, Ezekiel 34, I think, speaks to what we're talking about. And it's quite harsh and it's a real kick to us to join. Yeah, I'll just read a little bit.
About the
but
sheep
it's, yes,
and the like,
and it's Christ saying,
shepherds.
you didn't do this, you didn't do that. All right, you stay there. I will go to the highest peaks and the lowest crevices and find these sheep. And it's quite damning. Listen to these few verses. The weak you have not strengthened, nor have you healed those who are sick, nor bound up the broken, nor brought back what was driven away, nor sought that was lost, but with force and cruelty you have ruled them. So you've got to do this, you've got to look like that. Really, some people can't do that. They just can't because of whatever place they're coming from. So they were scattered because there was no shepherd, and they became food for all the beasts of the field. When they were scattered, my sheep wandered through the mountains and on every high hill. Yes, my flock were scattered over the whole face of the earth, and no one was seeking or searching for them. And he goes on to say, but I will go.
I think he rebukes the shepherd.
Mm.
What does he say to the leaders?
Woe, it's literally woe to you.
Woe to you.
And who are the shepherds? Like, you don't need a theological degree to find people, or to, St. Francis sends his brothers out from the monastery and says, if you really have to use words, it is the washing of the feet and the actions of and sometimes it's a long time. Sometimes your forgiving, unconditional love can be for a lifetime, but it will not be not noticed by God. He will reward that. And it's just find them and love them unconditionally. And I think that's what goes down. I think we see that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's I don't know what the word is. Sorry. I don't know what the word is. The Greek word, is it liturgy, where it's like go therefore?
Yeah, that's the work of the people.
Yeah.
Liturgia.
Yeah. The work of the people, like, all right.
That's what you're supposed to do. You're the shepherd. You know enough. You know enough. You know enough.
And I always think to myself, like,
I don't know anything.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I'm not taking that.
My biggest flex is I'm an idiot.
Yeah, me too.
I'm the biggest
Surely
idiot.
I'm a stupid man. That's me.
But
God can use those people too.
Yeah. And do I not have communion? Did I not just consume the body and blood of Christ? What am I scared of?
What more do you want?
Like, what else do I need?
Yeah.
The word, the living word I have now in me.
Yeah.
What am I worried about? Someone's going to swear at me. Someone's going to, test me. Yeah. Like, get out of the boat. Do it.
What do you got to lose?
Nothing.
Actually reminds me of a story. We had a talk on Friday night, and the speaker was like talking about her husband, and he was in the car, and pretty much he was, every time he now so he used to get really angry when he'd get like calls from like telemarketers and all these things.
Who doesn't?
And exactly. Exactly. And she was saying that like it was a problem for him. He spoke to his Abuna about it, and I think the advice Abuna gave him was, when you pick up the phone, just start preaching. Like they'll probably hang up on you anyway, right?
Great idea.
Right? So
hello, do you know Jesus?
Yeah, exactly. That is a crazy accent. I don't think
How many opportunities have we missed?
Yeah.
So many.
That is great advice.
Yeah.
So I used to be like that too.
Wait,
I think everyone's like that with telemarketers. Finish your story.
The
Sorry.
story, and then you can go.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was saying that like her husband, right, like hopeless when it comes to speaking about this stuff, right? Usually just hopeless. But anyway, it was like their date night. They have like a day, a month, a week, or whatever it was, where they go out and they have a date. And someone called them at the start of their drive home. He was on the phone for apparently like 45 minutes and preaching, and she couldn't believe that he was even coming up with these like arguments and stuff, and she didn't even know he had it in him. He didn't even know he had it in him.
Yeah.
And this guy was locked in. He was like, oh, like, anyway, I'm not sure what came from it, but he was definitely like interested.
This will shut down all those companies. You can't have each one 45 minutes on the phone.
That's it. Call
His
us.
boss is going to be like, why were you on the phone for 45 minutes?
Where's the deal? Where's the contract?
Exactly. Anyway, but it kind of just goes to show that like, even if you're not theologically trained and stuff, if you have your core foundational beliefs and let the Holy Spirit speak through you.
Two things. Christ chose most fishermen. These were fishermen.
Yeah.
And there is no evidence in the Gospels of those professional fishermen catching fish without him present. They were fishermen. They were nobody. I was recently at a meeting where everyone was saying what church they're from. And when I said the Coptic church, they were like, oh, isn't that the Egyptian church? Yes, all right, I'll fill that bit in. But aren't you the people? Aren't you the people? Now, I don't look Egyptian. I'm not you people, but aren't you the people that are the ones wearing orange on the beach in Libya? Now, with all respect, those 21 martyrs were average men, nobodies. They went to Libya to make money for their families in the Said. They're not special in any way, other than they imitated Christ. And the whole world turned their face to the men in orange. We're orange.
And like a few of them were just even baptized in there in their blood.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you read, there's a book out that Amber and Gelos actually did the forward for. It's written by a British man. And I thought, it's going to be one of those stories where, you hear of these people being these, killer servants in the village.
Yeah.
Average people, average. But they're going to shine very brightly for a long time, for a very long time. And yes, to us, but to the world. They're known now.
I'm not too sure if this is the full story, but I know because we have in Sydney Diocese, we have a church in Japan. Did you hear about some guy in Japan? I think it started some guy came because he's like, I saw those guys, those Coptic guys, so now I'm going to attend this church.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Right. Yeah, it's awesome.
They're witnessing to something divine. Divine. And did they preach? They didn't open their mouth. They didn't. Did they make the sign of the cross over themselves? They couldn't. They were bound. One of them, I think it was the youngest one, that's from the book. The youngest one was ministering or encouraging the African from Ghana. Yeah. When they went back to work, he was always looking after the African that was amongst the 21. He was just a young kid. He was very young. And there he was in the, far from home, like who are we?
Yeah.
We're very powerful. If Christ is if he's driving the car and we're in the back seat, we can go anywhere. We can go anywhere.
I feel like, and for any viewer listening, like it's just biblical. Like every single person in the Bible who was chosen was not qualified. Like they were, what's the saying? You're not qualified.
No, God qualifies the unqualified.
Is that the one?
Oh, I like that.
No, you're
What
not
does it say?
called.
Never heard that.
Yeah. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the call.
Thank you very
Who
much.
said that?
I just said it now.
I'm pretty sure it's definitely
Abanoub Salama. Quote.
No, but it's so true. Like Exodus, even Moses, the story of Moses.
Yeah.
He.
Well, I'm not qualified. I'm not a social worker, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Exactly.
I'm nothing,
See,
actually.
there's no qualification,
No, there's none.
but God called you. He
Now I
did.
have a team of them.
Exactly. So every single story, find me a story where the person was qualified to preach. Find me one. Joseph, Moses, Jonah, anyone. Give me a book. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Let's just keep going. Like Paul.
Well, who's the first missionary? Who's known as the first missionary? No. I'm going to trick you. Not trick you.
Woman.
Stop it.
Oh, sorry.
So she's known as the apostle to the apostles. And who is she? Who's Mary Magdalene?
Yeah,
Who is she?
Yeah,
Nothing. She's nothing.
Exactly.
And it goes on and on.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like I've recently found this amongst the church. I've recently found that like if you were to tell me all these deacons and so knowledge out their minds with biblical knowledge and theoretical and talks and all these things, but the very people that I see bringing that Muslim to church, bringing that really troubled person to church, I see this personally, like in my friend group, like I know someone specifically and I see it elsewhere, that person is not Mr. Bible know-it-all. Like he knows the church is the place to be, and he brings them with out of love. He brings them out of lack of judgment. He brings them out of just the relationship they built. A question that I have, and I've been talking to a few people about this, and differing opinions, right? So I think that someone like you, Abba, specifically, and I've mentioned your name, right? Listen, you have a talent or ability to really relate to people and not show judgment, and even kind of like you're interested in the same thing that they're interested in. So then they feel like you're quite close to them, similar to them, but there's just this thing that's a bit different.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like that approach, in my opinion, is how to bring someone to the church. However, in doing that, I feel like someone's told me like, but do you not think that they're kind of like watering down the gospel or
I didn't know you could water down.
Yeah.
exactly. Or well, like some people will say like, okay, these people are smoking weed, let's just say,
Okay.
right? These people are smoking weed. I'm not saying that you do, but I'm saying these people are smoking weed and I don't agree with this, right? So I don't want to get too close to this person. I don't want them to think that I'm in agreement of this, right?
Yeah.
But there's an element that you can approach that person and be like, I know that you're doing this, but like, I don't think of you any differently, right? I don't know. In my head, there are a few different sides.
You've got to get the can opener open and just slowly open the can of wine.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't see the leprosy. He just saw the leper. There was no concern about how he had gotten to that spot or how he ended up that way. It's none of his concern in that moment, right? You see a human as they are and you sit with them, you walk with them. I think we're so scared of like being influenced and infiltrated and like, oh, someone, does X, Y, and Z, I shouldn't hang around them. Well, what are you scared of? Well, you think you're going to start doing X, Y, Z? Or I go with a friend.
Or on that note,
Yeah.
leprosy, Hansen's disease, can only be caught if your immune system is weak. It's a contagious disease. But if your immune system is good, which means you're taking the body of Christ, you are immune. Are we doubting the power of the Holy Eucharist? That's the question here.
Yeah.
You can't catch if you are filled with Christ.
We get taught in the church, especially the Egyptian community in our churches, we get taught a lot that we should be very cautious. And everyone brings out this verse, bad company corrupts good habits. So
Why doesn't it work the other way though?
Yeah.
Why can't good company corrupt bad habits?
It could,
Of
but
course it
then
can.
we always hear things like never bring someone, if someone's down and you're trying to pull them up, they'll bring them down with you.
Then stop the podcast right now, bro. Because what have we just been talking about? We go, sit.
Yeah.
Get dirty.
Okay. So how do you balance the two? How do you
You
balance
get
'cause-
stronger.
Yeah.
All right.
There is no balance. Sorry. I don't
Well, I think you've got what did he call the two towers in New York? Everyone was running out, right? Who was running in?
Firefighters.
That's right.
Mm.
Someone has to be the firefighter, and it might cost you your life, but somebody's running in.
Not everyone's a firefighter. So does that mean
No.
But you can
okay.
be.
Can I? So do you remember that we used to watch The Guardian? There's a
I
film.
was just going to say that.
Let's go. Let's
The
go.
Guardian. What's the
Kevin Costner.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're a team. My grandsons, we're a team.
Like, I remember the first time, Deb and I watched it, I think we were in Melbourne and we were like with the team down there, and the metaphor for that film is like, it's about the US Coast Guard,
Saving people, the
like-
ships going
Yeah.
adrift.
Ships, going
Sinking.
down.
Sinking.
They've sent out an SOS, so the team go out, and then you've got, Kevin Costner, who dives into the ocean with like waves spilling and whatnot, and he's got like a young, muscly Ashton Kutcher, who I had to like double take for. I was like, whoa,
Leave
like,
that
real
man.
quick, yeah, like who also dives in as well,
He can appreciate.
Of
good-looking
course you
man.
can.
Anyway,
But
continue.
But not everyone dives
No,
in.
you
The
have
helicopter
someone-
pilot,
Yeah.
the guys back at the station packing the bags, the people when you get in.
Yeah. It's a whole, it is a
The
team effort, like, and for, whoever, it's not about the glory is what I'm trying to say. you know, but it is about the glory of God, you know, like how do we work together, you know, in order to get to who we need to get to, you know, no matter the circumstance, and nothing should scare us, you know. And I'm not saying someone who's fresh out of pre-servants, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
You're going to the
On the
cross,
street.
Yeah.
you know, like
No.
that's
On
it.
the cross.
No,
No.
you know, like Deb and I have been doing work, like I've, you know, obviously not as long as Deb, you know, but
Oh.
like,
Whoa.
Well,
Well,
I
come
would
on,
be
man.
I would be
Yeah.
happy sitting, like, I know Abanoub and who he is now. I can die in peace. I know that the message I have received, he's received. He can swim. So it can,
as well
there.
as like, yeah, so many servants, you know, that have been impacted by Exodus, you know, are at that level as well, you know, like the message is passed on, and, you know, this will pass it on, you know, and then they'll pass it on and whatnot.
but we always say that it isn't one person that's going to go and reach out to someone. It takes between 6 to 8 people as a team to go wherever that person is, and sometimes it's far, and to set up shop there and to bring Christ and the church and the liturgical side of things to them, and then we slowly walk back. But I get tired, and then he takes over, or he gets tired and somebody else takes over, or 3 of us go down with the flu. There's still 3. There's never a gap. We just have to keep filling the gaps.
I think really importantly, from what I've heard, like that concept of setting up shop is like eat with them, talk with them, understand them, like become
Yeah.
friends with them. Don't like lord this sort of agenda
Uh-uh.
over their heads, because like
No.
no one's going to listen to that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to smoke weed? All right. Smoke weed. No.
Okay.
Well,
Genuinely. Because the weed isn't
let
the
them,
issue.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to smoke weed.
But you know what they did? If you remember,
Yeah.
we never allowed it in front of us.
Yeah.
Like we didn't say, come to Exodus, and people thought we did. We never did that. The rule was, if you are using, you use off the premises,
Yeah.
and you can come to us. Okay, if you're too high, we will escort you home.
Yeah.
But we're not going to say don't come, because we need every opportunity to impact you.
Yeah.
So yes, if it's high,
Yeah.
don't
And there
really
needs
come.
to be that understanding, like, okay, it's
There's respect.
there's like
And they did respect it.
100%.
Nobody did it in front of us.
Because the
near
whatever
us.
it is, whatever vice is there, that's to the side. No one, that doesn't matter.
That was the leprosy
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah, like, all right, whatever. You know, I want to get to know you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. We all have our own vices.
100%, man.
There's a story that I saw it, this lesson that you're talking about, I saw it vividly in South Africa. The church has always worked with the young people in the townships, the black townships. And because of the history of South Africa, there was always an apartheid government for 60, 70 years. The separation between the origins of people was quite severe, to the point where in the black townships, white people didn't live. And in the white suburbs, there at the time, there weren't black people living there. It was very separate. But the church went in seeking everyone, didn't matter, color, white, colored, black, they didn't care. The conferences would have 100+ young people with us. And we were there for a couple of years. And this is coming out of the apartheid years. So, you know, they didn't speak. The guys we were serving, they had nothing to do with white people. They just lived in their townships, and that was it. And they tolerated us, but there was always, I felt there seemed a bit of a difference
Sorry, I know
between us.
this story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a cold winter night. We had 100+, and one of the servants didn't come down to eat. And thank God that trip, I had a newly graduated medical student. And Armanious is actually was an orthopedic surgeon. So he had a bit of medical, but he was in his late 70s then. Anyway, so we ran up. They said, no, we can't wake her up. So we went up. There was no pulse. We spent 50 minutes doing CPR on her. And we didn't want to lose her. She's alive and well today. She's got 3 kids. Long story short. And it was the worst night of my life. This is the worst scenario that could happen, that we lose a young person in a conference, especially these people. It was just, it couldn't have happened.
And am I wrong in remembering that she had a diagnosis of?
Yes, she did have TB and HIV.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we did the CPR, and the ambulance did come eventually because they are very fussed about things over there. And she lived, and the medical student and I, she was doing the compressions and I was doing the breathing. Back then we did that. And we went to another room and we just sat down. The adrenaline was pumping, and all the time I'm thinking, this is the worst night. This is the worst night. And everyone's praying, and the bishop's right behind me praying, and we're doing this. And then the priests, the black South African priests came in. They said, "Are you all right?" And we said, "Yeah, we'll be all right in a minute." You know, my knees are like shot.
Yeah.
And they said, she hasn't been well. That's the way to say it. We said, yes, we'll deal with that later. And they said, all these years you would come and you would preach to us unconditional love. But you know who we are. You know the history of this country. No one would have done that to that girl in the street or anywhere. They would not have touched her. Now, and it was like Moses, and that you asked me about the parting.
Yeah.
They said, no one would have done that. You said you loved us, but now we know you do. And it went like that. And the way forward was like straight. Wow. And it opened up years and years and years of wonderful, wonderful friendships. And those kids are now, some are priests and married, and Abba knows them all, and hundreds, thousands maybe. I don't know how many. We never counted. And that was the worst night, again, the worst tragedy to the best tragedy.
That's the cross.
That's the cross. That's right. The sweetness of that cross. Yeah, that taught me a lesson, big lesson. Never too late. It's never too far. It's never impossible. And the worst can turn out to be the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't fear. It's the fear, I think.
Yeah.
We're such sookies, It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's going to take my time.
Yeah. Exactly, Liz. Right now.
Yeah.
Abba, do you have any stories where you would share that you would say 100% God is real?
I mean, the story that I'm most familiar with is my own.
Your own.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
What were you like before the coma? Were you a gang leader?
No. I was such a loser. I was a mad loner, stoner,
Rapper.
Yeah, wannabe rapper.
Now he's a real rapper.
Now I am a real rapper.
It goes under the name of.
No names. I stick with my God-given name. I think I was just like really, really lost and lonely. And like the boys will attest to this. Like that I grew up with. I just didn't know who or what or when I wanted to be what I needed to be. Dabbled in a whole heap of things, messed around with a whole, group of people, try to find, my tribe. And it was really lonely. I was really, really sad for a really, really long time. And then I think God kind of, gets fed up with you, and he's like,
dashed you.
Yeah, you're such an.
You just need a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
By the way, Debbie knows more Arabic than me.
Well, 100%.
I'm a spy.
Yeah. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, and I genuinely think God just really got over me being such a, like a suki lala, and just was like, no, that's it. So, I ended up, getting bashed and ended up in a coma, after a whole heap of like drugs and stuff, which, led to a whole heap of things, and then like, it's like I wake up from, this coma, 3 months later, and it's so hard to explain, because unless you've done it, been through it, like it just doesn't make sense. It was like, this was my life, and then, okay, I'm in a coma, and then I wake up, and it's like I can't even fathom or remember what that was like, and the loss of friendships that happened right after is crazy, like I could tell you every single person that stopped talking to me after that, and like, oh, okay. And I just have to trust that it's probably for my benefit, and then you have like this other side that's so foreign and calm and like chill that it's like, oh, not as exciting as it used to be, but it's definitely better, much better. And I would just kind of much rather chill here in these green pastures, where he leads me to still waters, as opposed to the chaos, back there.
There's a picture at Exodus with Abba and 4 other guys, or 5? 4.
Yeah.
And their backs are to the photograph. And, no, 6.
I think so.
2. And they were young.
Yeah.
They were 15, 16 maybe. 2 now have, one's a social worker, master's social work. One's a counsellor. One's he was adopted here. I'm not near the microphone. This photograph has one social worker, one master's of social work, one counsellor. One of the guys was adopted from Egypt, and then he got into trouble with the law, and he had no one. And now he's a dad of 3 kids. He owns 2 houses, and the other one is now finishing carpentry. They were hopeless. These guys with their backs to the camera were hopeless. Everyone said they're a write-off.
Yeah. Oh, it was such a mad group.
It was mad. But now they've I ring Abba sometimes and we talk work, and he tells me what he's learned, and now he's become the teacher. He teaches me. And so look at the amazing work of God.
Yeah.
That photo just it's
I
tattooed
still remember
in my eyeballs.
what undies I was wearing that day.
Really?
They're
You
in
wear
the,
them
yeah,
right now.
Because you can see them.
Yeah, you can see them in the
You can
photo.
see them in the photo.
No, but even just hearing that, like, I know Abba for a while now, like, and honestly, like, genuinely, I feel like all of your strengths, like, a lot of them that I know, I feel like have come out of your reaction to what, like, that tragedy that happened. Like, if anyone knows Abba, they know that he will never worry about a thing, to the point of, like, Jesus sleeping on the boat with the storm. Abba is knocked out cold.
Yeah.
He sleeps well.
It's funny. Zita and I, we went to Fiji, and there was like a volcano in Tonga exploding, and then this tsunami that had just happened, and we had just landed, and then we're waiting in the airport, and this like Fijian guy comes up to him and he's like, "Bula Vanaka, I'm going to take you to the hotel." Okay, mad, whatever. And we get in the van, and then I'm like, all right, I'll see you.
Blindfolds on you.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'll see you when we get there. And I fall asleep. And then Zita's like shaking me, like trying to wake me up. And I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, everything's flooding. The storm. Yeah. I'm like, bro, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. It's okay. Like, what's the problem? Like, I can't control it.
Yeah.
If it was in my control, Habibti,
Yeah.
I would do something.
Yeah.
But it's not. Who cares? It really doesn't matter. But that takes, I think, coming to that mentality, like, honestly, that's God-given. That's God-given. And, like, it just comes with experience. Like, I think we've seen enough, crap, between Deb and I. And it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like that just reminds me of my grandma. Like, she passed, but just thinking about her, she would, like, it's as if she's seen everything.
Yeah.
I think she worked for UNICEF.
Wow.
Yeah, when, like, in Sudan, like, there might have been an office or something. But yeah, like, really everything.
Yeah.
Like, we would be getting into a fight and she'd be like, it's okay, come.
Yeah.
Like, she'd be so sweet. But no, I definitely agree. And I feel like, from your situation, and you have that gratitude for your life. Like, you're blessed.
Yeah.
I was talking to Zeta previously, and I think it was right after your wedding, and she was just like, I just feel so blessed. She's like, I'm marrying a man who is literally blessed. Like,
Can you ask her that now? Like, almost a year in?
but she's like he was supposed to be dead. But God was like, no, I'm saving you for Zeta.
What a story. There's a podcast.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Like, it's really that gratitude that you have.
Yeah.
Sometimes God needs to just give us to just put us in line. And and I feel like
it's that wrestle with Jacob almost.
100%.
And
the most important thing is that the reaction that you had at the end. A lot of people can come out of things and be like resentful, and that's really sad. That's when something like that happens, in my opinion, that's very, very, very sad, and very sad to watch play out in front of you. Yeah. But sometimes tragedies can be the best ways, and you're an example of that.
I think like it's a blessing and a curse that I use humor like to get through a lot. I think especially like with the work that we do, like, all right, like if you don't laugh,
there is a lot of dark humor in this industry. Yeah, just be it Exodus.
Because if you don't laugh, you will cry.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's rough.
All right,
that's the sad reality.
Yeah, but God is good.
One of our staff members is sort of the Pablo. He's the guy that gets it all going in the morning.
The Pablo?
No, his name.
The Pablo.
His name is Pablo.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
We'll call him the Pablo.
He is the Pablo.
He is. He really is.
What does he get it going with? Like, what's going on?
He's
his
not
energy.
Egyptian. He's Brazilian.
Yeah,
oh, wow, okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Last episode, we mentioned to Father Elijah that we're going to have Debbie on, and he left a question for you, and then we'll get you to leave a question for the next speaker. It's a question for both of you, really. He didn't know you were on it. But
that's fine.
It's all right.
No.
I'll ask you a question.
Okay, what's the question?
This is very...
linking things.
This
we
is
plan
new.
ahead. Thanks, Abanoub.
That's a great way to end it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Just a question for the next
speaker.
Our next speaker hopefully will be Debbie Armanious from Exodus.
Okay. I would ask, how can we make sure that we avoid burnout in our service?
Now I have to answer it.
You do.
By the way, I cut a bit out of that. He was just like gassing you up for a solid
Is that good or
5
bad?
That's
minutes.
good. I wish no one ever gasses me up, let
he was
alone
like-
a priest.
He was like, I love Debbie and all this stuff. And I just had, I should have kept, I had
That's
to cut
right.
it out for other reasons. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyway, I have
How
to
do you
answer
av-
the question.
how do you avoid burnout?
That's very controversial, that question.
We love controversial.
Oh,
I
God.
love controversial.
All right. There are two schools to that. And a very modern social worky thing is self-care, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. You want to answer that bit?
Do you believe in self-care
Of course.
in the modern sense?
Yeah. Why not?
He's trained to.
But two things can be true.
Yeah.
Two things can be true. And I'll let Deb Yeah.
So he's trained and taught that. I didn't do that. I'm from an old school, training where the self-care is the service to others.
Mm.
And I've been told that that's from the modern team, that that's a little bit dangerous.
Mm.
And I sometimes, like, I've got ADHD or something anyway, so burnt out is not in my vocabulary, and people know I have ADHD.
Mm.
So I can still, I don't know, what is that? Sorry, I can't answer it.
Mm.
Sorry, Father Elijah. I'm sorry. I know the question was for Deb, but do you remember? It was at like one of the homeboy gatherings.
In LA.
Yeah.
So Father Greg Boyle runs Homeboy Industries, which is an Exodus on steroids.
Yeah. This this monk got up during one of the seminars and goes and asks him.
Father Mark. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He gets up and he's like almost on like this pulpit and goes to Father Greg and he's like, "Don't you ever get tired? Don't you ever worry about burning out?" And his response was so gangster.
But he hangs out with gangsters.
Yeah. Like he just kind of like pauses for a second and then looks at him and he's like, "This is the work that I've been put on earth to do. Like there is no burnout. Like the Holy Spirit is with me. How can I burn out?" You know?
It's the Pentecost season. There you go.
Perfect.
Perfect.
I didn't even know that. Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah.
It's like, it gets back to the Mother Teresa thing. Don't you get sick of dragging maggots off dead flesh? Wouldn't that make you tired? And yes, you have to retreat, and yes, you have to be with God and all those things, but is he not in the midst of the storm? If the storm is where I meet him, then that's where I meet him. That's where I like him the most.
I have a question. It's okay if you're insensitive with this question. So,
What is it?
as in, like,
I'm intrigued.
so when people say I am burnt out, I cannot do this for service, I'm burnt out. What do you think are the main reasons?
I didn't think you were going to say what are the main reasons. I don't know what the main reasons are. And frankly, I don't think the reasons even matter. If you feel like you're burnt out, you're burnt out.
Are you burnt out?
Me personally?
No.
Okay. No, I'm not.
In general?
No.
The person asking, are they truly burnt out, or
Are they dead or are they dead?
Are they average?
we're taking that away. But that's the next question for the next person. I mean, who are we to question if they feel? But I challenged. I'm sure they've got energy in themselves. Retreat for a little while, but my confession father of many years would, no, there's no giving up. No, it's the old geezer school of you keep going.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, see, I'm with you then. Do you have ADHD?
I have diagnosed him right now. No,
Oh.
I'm joking. As a friend.
Naura. He's got ADHD.
Sad,
And the diagnosis has gone through.
That's it. I have things. I say that to myself. My son, I got home very late the other night, and we live on the same property. So he says, text me when you get in. And I got in very late. Did I cop a lecture the next day? And I thought, hang on a minute, this is not the way it's supposed to be.
Oh, how the turntables.
Office.
Yeah, like I've got things to do.
Yeah.
I always have things to do.
Yeah. Otherwise, what else am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
Chris, that's it.
I hurt my wrist.
Right, as far as I'm
So I
concerned,
can't get to the gym? So what am I going to do? I don't get it.
like as far as I'm concerned, Like, I don't know what's happening after I die. Like, and all I have is right now, right here, like this very second, you know? No. It's actually the end of the chapter in Tattoos on the Heart, you know, like right now, right here, like with God.
Yeah. Oh,
us,
yes, that's true.
You know, yeah. I think I know that
Father
book
Greg
off by
Boyle,
heart.
Homeboy
Yeah.
Industries.
Tattoos on the Heart. Yeah, it's the most badass book, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regularly.
Heartbeat.
Yeah.
I do have a theory about like this burnout thing. I think you can get burnt out, but like I personally couldn't get burnt out at playing soccer. Like I go to
Yeah.
training at like 8 p.m. and it's freezing and like on paper no one would want to do that.
I'd get
and
burnt
like,
out with that.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. But it's something I enjoy. Like I really do enjoy playing soccer. Like, I feel like you can burn out in things that you don't love very quickly. I can
Good
burn.
answer.
Yeah,
I
for
can.
sure.
I'll burn out cleaning the dishes
Yep.
if I'm doing that for longer than like
Or your tax
2.3
return.
seconds.
Tax return. Yeah.
I'm burnt out. But I think if it's something you truly love, it's hard to get burnt out. Like when someone says
That's a good answer.
when someone says I'm too busy, it's like it's just not important enough for me. That's in my opinion. If someone's like because like
I'm going to the gym tonight. I'm going
Exactly.
tonight. Yeah, I
Exactly.
promise you, I'm going
no,
tonight.
but like we're gonna
I'm
fade
going.
after this.
Yeah, but then I'm
Zach
going
or
to the
Jimmy?
yeah. I'm going to the gym
No, but yeah, that's how
starting
I think
Monday.
of it.
Yes.
But also I can definitely like sympathize with it's hard to love service. For some people it's hard if Sunday school's not something you're into, but you've been thrown into Sunday school, you might not love it. Like and you might feel burnt out. But I mean that's a totally different question. How do you turn to love something like that you initially don't?
I think for Sunday school, like I don't know. For me, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone, but I just don't feel it. Like for Sunday school, if I'm in Sunday school and it's really hard.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, I just need to get more patient.
Mm.
Like I don't see.
Yeah.
And if
So you
something's
love it.
oh, well, I love the growth. I think that's what I love.
But I think a
about it.
lot of people don't have that same sort of
Yeah.
opinion.
But I think that's
Their
like,
mindset.
okay, I don't think Sunday school matters because Sunday school matters.
Screw them kids.
But like, no, for
Abanoub
you-
Salama just said.
No, what I mean to say is it's not the service that's like, it's the growth from the service. Because you're not going to take Sunday school with
Yeah,
you
sure.
to the grave. You're not going to get to the gates and like St. Peter's there and be like, where's Sunday school? No, the growth, the
growth.
fruits
Yeah, for sure.
from you did Sunday school with.
Yeah, and in
That's
terms of
what's
burnout,
important.
like some people are very difficult to deal with, and I try to help as much. But if they cross the line, that's it. They cross the line. You know,
Yeah.
it's not I'm burnt out. It's just you cross the line. I'm not helping you no more. You know, no offense, but I know you guys don't take that approach.
1 year I got in Sunday school I got all the bad kids. So they decided for 3 sets of years that the bad ones in all of that would go to this special needs class.
Oh my goodness.
And I had that.
And your plate wasn't already full.
Oh, yeah.
And you're never
they're
burnt
good.
out.
No.
What's the mentality like?
Of
Of
me or
you,
them?
of
Of you. Like, yeah.
No, what am I? I don't know. Crazy, I think.
Not crazy. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, don't get me wrong. We get tired. Like there is periods of like exhaustion, you know. But
Like Last of Us is waiting at home.
yeah, literally,
And, like,
bro. Like
yeah.
I need some PlayStation time.
like
I
Red
need
Dead.
to
My
relax.
horse
I need,
needs to get rid on.
yeah, like all of
in Red Dead.
these games that I need to play, like so I can just
But
go.
we did have that
You
at
know what?
Exodus.
Yeah.
They wouldn't go home till 3:00 in the morning.
You know, but like these things, right? Like whatever it is that you need to rest, recoup, and recover from, man, go and do that. You know, Christ goes out and into the desert, you know, to be alone. You know, he goes like consistently throughout the Gospels. He's like leaving the crowd, you know, and then reviving himself, like rejuvenating, like just
Yeah.
relax.
But I think
not relax, like,
he's leaving not to just like slump.
Yeah.
Like he's leaving to speak to God.
Yeah.
And that's where he fills up.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So
It's only a reflection that if God is omnipresent, so he's everywhere, then can you not continue and then be with him in that moment?
Mm.
I think our humanity gets in the way. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We do get physically tired, but does our spirit? And if it does, then why?
Mm.
Also, I just want to
Yeah.
quickly retract what I said because every single time, I'll tell you what, every single time I say something, or I'm this, opposite happens. Like, you know, if I say I'm not burnt out,
you. Me too.
yeah.
you.
So I'm going to just say, yes, service is difficult, I'm burnt out.
And I'm not coming back to Sydney tomorrow.
I'm going to stay.
I am not a millionaire.
I'm so poor.
no, no, but it is true. And a contemplation I saw was that when Christ was baptized, the wording is that Christ received the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
And then he proceeded to leave, and he was in the desert for 40 days. And when he returned, it said Christ was filled with the Holy Spirit. There was a difference in terminology.
Mm.
And I think the same happens to us. We receive the Holy Spirit in baptism, but it's up to us to continuously fill
Top it up.
ourselves
Mm.
Yeah.
and top it up.
Yeah.
And only through doing that, it'll overflow, and that's where the burnout thing doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You might be burnt out if you just forgetting to top it up, but you're serving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like go into your quiet room and speak. The same way, Father Anthony on the podcast, he said, "Devil doesn't care if we talk about God for hours on this podcast. He does not care. He just cares if we speak to God. So if we do this and then we go home and bye, haven't spoken to God and like done my night devotion and think this is enough, then we're missing the mark. We're missing the point, and that's sin." Yeah.
What are you not doing tomorrow, Chris?
I'm not winning the lottery. I'm not.
Oh
Yeah.
dear.
No,
Go for it.
No, I was going to say, this has been a great chat, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Keep saying
no.
so.
I was going to also wrap up. So just before we leave, do you have a question that you'd want to leave for the next guest?
Hold on.
I'm holding on.
Hold on. So the next guest
Yes, that's what I want to know.
is Father Antonius Caldas. Oh, how do I say his name right? Did I say his name right?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
run with it.
Oh,
Okay.
Antonius Caldas.
that's
Yes.
like your best friend. You can
Yes,
come up with a
he's been
question.
on the board of Exodus for
Yeah.
many
Awesome.
years. Yes,
We're
good
going
friend.
to do the topic, the problem of suffering, the problem of pain. Why does God allow suffering?
Heavy.
What would you ask him?
Oh, gee, that.
It can
some
also be
thinking.
anything. Like it can be.
You can,
be
yeah.
like,
Oh, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be with a
What did you eat last week? Like it
Yeah,
can be
or
fine.
since you know him very well, you can ask him like a very funny or personal question or whatever you want.
What happened on the 4th of January 2004?
At Exodus.
Okay.
You can help her out.
I'm trying to think.
Okay, I know where I'm going to go with it. Okay, so I'll just say it.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So, Father Antonius, where are you hoping the education, the spiritual education of our children, where's it going for the future? Where do you hope it to be for our children in the future?
You want to just be on the podcast and ask him the questions? That's so good.
Did it make sense?
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely did.
Abba, question from you.
How did you raise such wonderful children?
Oh,
Mm,
that's
yeah.
that's better than
Mm.
mine.
How
I
do you
love
raise wonderful children?
Up to you.
Nice.
I love Sam
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep that
And
in.
Bethany.
and Bethany. Yes.
That's awesome.
Thanks, guys. I really hope all the camera stuff got everything and
Yeah.
the audio.
It's been a pleasure.
Have we finished recording? Has
Not
the recording
yet.
stopped? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it can get
Too
cut out.
soon.
We do hope all the best for your continued podcasting.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful
Wow.
mission.
Thanks,
I
guys.
think, look at this rubbish.
It's still live.
Cut it.
It's not going to Nara.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, guys. Thanks,
God
guys.
bless you.